Okay, so full disclosure, Prime Minister stayed at my place. We had dinner. We were up till 12:30 at night, chatting in front of the fireplace, solving all the world's problems.
Canada is paying higher tariffs now than we were when Mark Carney took office, and there is no trade deal on the horizon with the United States. But everything's fine, guys. Mark Carney and Doug Ford had a chat around the fireplace at the cottage. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Johnny Says So. And today, I want to talk about the Premier's meeting and a few things that I found very interesting. Number one being Doug Ford shamelessly sucking up to Mark Carney, and at the same time, really saying the quiet part out loud about a number of problems with our Prime Minister and his approach to things. So let's take a listen.
All the world's problems.
And he's got a very nice small chalet.
Yeah. I have a little shack up down the street there.
Now, already I have to pause it here, guys, because I can't help but point out how out of touch these people really are. They have no problem letting you know that they are going to be fine no matter what happens with this trade war, that they are no doubt stoking for political gain. Doug Ford has no problem bragging about his little shack, when in reality, it's probably larger than any home that the average Canadian can ever hope to afford.
And do you know what it is? Yeah, I'm telling you, I haven't known him for long, but the Prime Minister is the most humble person you'd ever want to meet. Let me just give you a little background. Now you got me on a roll here. Okay, the Prime Minister was a Goldman Sachs guy. He worked on Bay Street. He was the chair of Brookfield, which I think is close to $1 trillion fund. Chair of Bloomberg, everyone knows Bloomberg. Bank of Canada governor, Bank of England governor. He has never said that in his entire time I've known him. He doesn't do that. He's very humble.
And he didn't talk about that a lot on the campaign trail, did he? I find it very interesting how people on the left voted for this. A corporate globalist banker. It really blows my mind, and I know I harp on it a lot, but it can't be overstated. He really says the quiet part out loud here, guys. Mark Carney, of course he didn't talk about these things. Why would he let Canadians know that he was profiting off of his investments in American companies during the election campaign? That's not exactly something that you want to say out loud there, Doug Ford. You're really giving up the game here, bud.
He listens. He's a smart business person. And I always tell my business owners, who would you give the keys to? I'd hand the keys to a business over to the Prime Minister. He's business-minded. He has his hands full because of the last 10 years of what has happened in our country. He's playing cleanup right now, and we're going to be there to support him. But he's a very good man. He's off.
He's playing cleanup for the last 10 years. Again, guys, Mark Carney was heavily involved in advising Justin Trudeau on the economy for the last 5 years. That's half of the time that he is playing cleanup for. Absolutely unbelievable.
To a good start. He's an honest man too. He just wants the best for Canada. He doesn't need to be doing this, I can assure you that, but he's given it everything he possibly can, and I think that's a consensus around the table. He's trying. He's a very smart, shrewd businessman. But thank you, everyone.
Now, that is actually not the consensus around the table. Now, I'm of course referring to what Danielle Smith, Pierre Poilievre, and other conservatives refer to as 9 bad laws that seemingly by design intentionally kneecap Canada's ability to be an economic powerhouse, as Mark Carney puts it. And I say not everybody's in agreement because obviously David Eby of BC really supports these laws. Same with the Premier of Quebec. Not everybody is seemingly on board with pipelines. So let's take a listen.
Can you be more specific regarding, quote, regulatory burdens and, quote, bad laws that you're referring to that you want changed at the federal level?
Well, I'm going to hand it over to Danielle. She has it memorized. I don't have it memorized, so let it roll, Danielle.
Sure, happy to go through them. I've got a little cheat sheet right here in my notes so that I always have them on hand. So first of all, C-69, we call that the No More Pipeline bill. That needs to obviously have some substantial rewrite, and I think that's what the 2-year to yes policy recognizes, is that has been a barrier to getting big projects built. That's one.
2 years to yes. 2 years from now, Donald Trump will be just a year left in office. Not very smart, guys. We needed to do this stuff yesterday.
Emissions cap. We're not going to be able to fill a new pipeline if we're capping emissions, which means capping production. With the aggressive targets, we would have to curtail production 2 million barrels a day by 2030. That's got to go. Carbon pricing, we want that to stay provincial. We have a $95 carbon price. Other provinces have made different choices for different reasons, but we want that to be provincial. We don't want them to take over carbon pricing. The clean electricity regs, I can tell you we have 17,000 megawatts of demand for AI data centers in our province. The only way we're going to build them is if we can build natural gas power plants. That won't happen if officials or if company executives are going to go to jail in 2035 for not having met emissions reduction targets that are overly aggressive. Tanker ban, again, if you can't put something on a ship, there's no point in building a pipeline to the coast, so that's got to go. The declaration of plastics is toxic. We have an integrated market back and forth between the U.S. and Canada on plastics. If you're having to handle it like it's hazardous material, adds a bunch of additional regulation. Plus, the federal government's partnered with us on a net zero petrochemical plant in Alberta. So it's chaotic policy to support and subsidize on the one hand and then try to ban it on the other. Net zero vehicle mandate, we've discussed that. And then censorship of Bill C-59. What we're hearing, I mean, if an industry is not able to talk about their genuine emissions reductions efforts without facing criminal charges for greenwashing, then we're kind of missing the point of the exercise. And the last one is we don't want to see export taxes on energy or export restrictions for the reasons that we've been talking about as well, that the Americans have a bigger hammer. If they cut off Line 5, not only does that harm Ontario, it also harms Quebec. And so we do need to find other routes, but in the meantime, we shouldn't be talking about energy restrictions, because I think it would have a devastating impact on Alberta. So those are on Canada. Those are the 9.
What I would recommend to the federal government, and I have mentioned it, create a Minister of Red Tape and Regulations. We did that, and we saved, through sectors coming to us about unnecessary regulations that are duplicated between the provinces and the federal government. We found over $1.1 billion of savings. And
so I'd just like to point out that how can Doug Ford be so cozy to Mark Carney and sing his praises like this while admitting that we need to get rid of all this red tape? Because so far, all we've seen from Justin Trudeau 2.0, Mark Carney, and his recycled cabinet is regulations and red tape. It's completely contradictory and confusing. And it doesn't strike me with any sort of confidence that these people actually want to get these projects done. And finally, most bizarrely of all, we have Doug Ford actually thanking Donald Trump. Let's take a listen to this.
that we have to move faster, quicker, immediate. We can't be delaying this. We should have been doing this decades ago, 10 years ago, 20 years ago. And there's one thing we can thank President Trump for, is getting us moving, getting us united like I've never seen before across the country, and focusing on large infrastructure projects, be it building large-scale nuclear, small.
Again, guys, quiet part out loud. He thanks Donald Trump for making Canada wake up and do the things that we should have been doing 10 years ago. Now, let me know what you guys think down in the comments. But do you think the same government that has presided over Canada over the last 10 years are the people that are going to get this stuff done? Or is this just all empty talk? So there it is, guys. All in all, in my opinion at least, the Premier's meeting was a massive waste of time and resources for something that probably could have been done over Zoom. And I found it really interesting how Doug Ford had to pass the microphone to Danielle Smith, because she clearly is the only one in the room who knows what she's talking about and has Canada's best interest at heart. But let me know what you think down in the comments. And as always, smash the like button and subscribe to the channel. And I'll see you in the next one. Peace.
Johnny from Nova Scotia says thank you. Hey, Johnny from Nouvelle-Écosse, il dit merci, thank you.
Thanks to you. God
Thank you
bless
so much.
you.
Perfect.
We're from Quebec.
Yeah, Quebec.